And I'm Jen.
And this is the Shelf of Shameful Opportunity. This is our video where we go over the new games we've gotten to the table over the last couple weeks.
Yeah. And we have, I don't remember how long it's been since the last one. We've got quite a number of games on here.
Yeah, we have a good list of games, and we've started Uwe Palooza. We started with a couple of new Uwe games too, so we'll get to those.
Yep. All right. Do you want to start us off?
Yeah, the first game that we played was it's actually a pretty quick game. It's like a mystery game with audio component, and you sort these cards in a certain order based on the audio component. And that's called Echoes the Cocktail. And this was actually really fun.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun with this. I think the only complaint I'd have is that it was only an hour, and now it's done.
Yeah.
You know, like it's almost too quick, but I enjoyed it.
I did too. I thought the audio was a really interesting mechanism that some games have some audio, but most of those sort of mystery games, escape room, puzzle games, whatever you call them, don't have audio.
Yeah, and I think the audio for me brings out the storytelling a little bit more than like when we read each other. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
I just kind of liked it. It's got an app. It's, of course, an app-supported game, so that's where the audio comes from.
Yeah, I also really liked it. I agree it was a little short. 45 minutes, I think, for a one-off is pretty short. Although they're also inexpensive. But this was we love these kind of games, and this was an interesting implementation of it that was a little bit more immersive than just the straight up paper ones.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. And one thing I'll say about it is, we talked about getting more of them. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. We immediately looked up how many other games there were, what they were, how much they were, and thought about, and we will probably get some more. So.
Yep. So that is Echoes the Cocktail, and that is that.
So the next game we played is We Can Play. And this is a small, very light card game, very similar to Timelines the game. It's got a little bit different implementation through the rules if you follow the exact rule set. And I think we followed the rules. Yeah, sometimes we just house roll it. But all of the cards are about women's history. So automatically something we were super interested in. We thought if the rules didn't work, we were just going to play Timelines with it by the timeline rules, because we do love that game, but the rules worked. Yeah. And this was amazing. I really, really love this game. There's nothing else like it. And it fits my super nerdy love of history. I worked on a PhD in history for 10 years, women's history. Like, this is right up my alley. But Jane loved it too. I mean, you love history too, so. And
one thing I really liked about this game is that it wasn't just a US or Eurocentric history. It was an international history.
Absolutely.
People from all over the world, from all countries of different sizes, and who made a mark for women. Yeah. And I really liked that.
Yeah.
I really appreciated that.
Yeah, it definitely has that sort of history from the bottom up, sort of decolonization, decentralization view on history, and that comes through in the topics and in the women that were covered. So
if you like Timelines, this is definitely something you could introduce to non-gamers. Anybody could play this, although they're going to have a challenge pinning down some of these events in history, because it is not just U.S. or Eurocentric.
Well, and it's women's history, which we never talked about. We don't study enough.
So, but it's a good way to sort of learn more about these areas of history. So I really like that.
Yep, absolutely. Me too. A+.
A+, definitely. All right. So the third game on our list of games that we brought to the table this month is, again, another sort of, exit game. And that's Exit the Game Forbidden Island. And we had a lot of fun with this.
We did have a lot of fun with this. We love these games. I mean, it's an exit game, so it's hard to go wrong with it. I know some are better than others. This one I thought was quite good.
It's not my favorite, but it was, I mean, our favorites are those really in-depth ones.
Yeah, yes.
This is pretty good, and the hint system is solid, and it's just, we had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, and one of the things I like about these the exit games is the puzzles are well thought out. So if it seems like that's a crazy thing to expect people to find, you're probably going down the wrong road, right? Most of the things make sense, right? They're going to be obvious once you see them, or sensible once you see them. It's not like you've got to, decipher those weird, like almost indistinguishable squiggles in the back of the page. That's not going to be it. Whereas we've played some games where that is it.
Yeah.
You just don't know. So I really enjoy these games, and they're doable.
Yep. They're well designed. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. So that's Exit the Game, Forbidden Island. So next up on our list is a small solo game called Food Chain Island.
Yeah. This is a lot of fun. It's also by Scott Almes.
Yeah.
And it's, as you described it to me when you were teaching it to me, it's basically the precursor to Numbsters.
Or like an alternative to Numbsters.
Yeah.
Because I think Numbsters came out first.
Oh.
I could be wrong. I
thought I looked and this was first, but I
Oh,
could be
that
wrong.
might be right. We played Numbsters first, so that's maybe throwing me off. But yeah, I enjoyed this game. It's a real simple game where you lay out a grid of cards, and then if a 14 can eat like an 11, 12, or 13. An 11 can eat 9, 10, or 11. So eating means you put the card over the other card. And then you create these stacks. And your whole goal is to get the stacks down to, I think it's 2 or less, or 3 or less, one of the two. And I did lose my first couple games. I wasn't quite getting it at first, but then I did okay and I won. So after that, I did much better. So I think it's fun. It's easy. It's super easy to learn and play.
Yeah, it is. So, and so Numbsters, it was 2023 and this was 2020. So this is before.
Oh, way before. Yeah.
Numbsters is like you hold it in your hand and do it. You can lay it out, but you're kind of supposed to hold them in your hand. Mm-hmm. This is on a table. I actually kind of prefer that. I'm not super dexterous. So, but yeah, like you said, I think you said everything there is to say about it. Quick, easy to learn, hard to master, kind of clever.
It's a button shy game. So it's 18 cards, comes in a wallet. You can bring this anywhere and play it. You can play it on a plane. You can play it on a train. You can play it in an automobile.
Exactly.
Not while driving.
Not while driving. It's a great, like, while you're waiting at the doctor's office or while you're sitting around in an airport kind
of game. You just need a small table.
Yep.
Not a big table, small table.
Yep, absolutely.
An end table will do. All right. So that is Food Chain Island. Mm-hmm. So what do we got next?
Our next one's a biggie. It is Aeons and Legacy of Gravehold. So first off, let me just say that I love Aeon's End. It is in my top, I think, 5 games, just generally the whole Aeon's End series. This was a lot of fun. We played with our neighbor. We've got 1 game left, but it was brutal. I'm not gonna lie. It was maybe a little too brutal.
It was a little too hard. I think it was too hard. I mean, I enjoyed it. I did not enjoy it, but I think of the Aeons End we played so far, it's my least favorite just because it was too hard.
Yeah, we
had a good experience playing it with our neighbor, so it was fun to play with her. Yeah. And but it was just, I just think it should be a little bit easier. We did find a way to make a few changes, and we were much more competitive in the last session.
I mean, we won the first game, or not the first game. We won one of the first 2 or 3, and then we didn't win again until we started to, I wouldn't say we house ruled it, but you get experience points and you can level up with that. We just were like, fuck it. We're going to level up. We're going to start with a little more health points for ourselves and for Gravehold, because we just were getting destroyed. I mean, and it stops being fun at some point.
It's definitely designed for veteran Aeons End players, and our neighbor was new to it, but I think she learned it quickly, so I don't think that was an issue, and I don't know what the issue was exactly. And once we kind of made a couple tweaks to handicap us, we gave ourselves some bonuses. Then we started doing much, much better, and I wish we did it earlier.
Yeah, I do too. So, I don't mind losing. I actually really like the ones that are hard, but I want to eventually win. You want that experience of oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh, we won! we made it. Like, we lost 4 games and then we won. But this didn't have that. This was just like, you will die. It was horrible. So, and there were some fiddly parts about some of the
legacy
aspects too, which was, I didn't mind that. I saw some
we
other
could have
people
organized it better sometimes ourselves, but I think, you know, the characters are cool. The nemesis are cool. They're very interesting.
The story's interesting.
The story's interesting. So it's not all difficult, or it's not all about the difficulty. There's other aspects that were very good, and so I would definitely still give it a positive review. I just would think, compared to other Aeons experiences, this was my least favorite just because of how hard it was.
Yeah, just too punishing. I liked I liked everything about it except the fact that I thought the nemesis, they were too strong and too punishing. They just destroyed you. They were just...
But they had interesting mechanisms.
They did. But maybe if they had less hit points or were a little less damaging, or,
tweaked a little bit.
It wasn't like, the player with the lowest life loses 5 lives. The player with the lowest life loses 5 lives, over and over again, or whatever it is. It was... Anyway.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, next up, Aeons End is always fun, though. It's definitely one of my all-time favorite deck builders. So,
yep.
Next up, we have a couple Uwe games. And so the first one, we finally got to the table. We've had this for a long time. It's a 2-player game from Uwe Rosenberg called Fields of Arle. And I loved this game. Now, not at first entirely. It took me a couple games to get the hang of the strategy rather than just playing tactically from turn to turn.
Yeah.
And so I did struggle a little bit with that. I won the first game, but I just felt like I was, just reacting instead of planning out a strategy and implementing it.
I had a strategy. I just lost anyway.
Oh, you won 2 games?
I did. I won a few. I won some games. So, I also really love this game. I mean, we love Uwe games in general. It has some things that will feel really familiar to people who play any Uwe game. You've got to feed your family. You've got to make sure you've got enough resources at the end of the season. But it also had some things that were really different too.
I love that you get to knit things, or you get to quilt things, or you get to,
That's one of the things I really liked, is that sort of resource a production engine. So you get sheep, then you get wool, then you turn those into clothes, then you deliver those somewhere and sell them. There's that just whole production chain.
Which you turn into food, which you then use that food to get a new building, which then gives you these resources. And it's just, there's kind of an engine builder in this, or is it an engine builder?
Yeah,
kind of. And I love the animal building and collecting the animals, and you get points for the animals at the end, just like in Agricola and stuff. And, you're expanding your dikes to have more land to develop for your farm. It's just fun.
The only thing I would say is that I wish there were expansions, because there's some buildings you can buy. Some of them are always the same, but there's 2 or 3 areas where they change out every year, but there's not enough of them, right? The variability there is pretty low, and I would love to see a little bit more variability in those buildings. Also, there
are expansions.
Oh, well, we're just gonna have to get them then.
Well, there's at least
Advent. Oh, we have that.
We have a promo we haven't played with yet. And then there's a tea and trade expansion, which adds tea for your workers and new ships for trading and fishing. And then there's a bunch of travel destination.
Oh, interesting. We're gonna have to check these out.
I guess mini expansions. So there are expansions.
Okay.
I thought there were, so I looked it up real quick while she was saying that. So. But they don't have more buildings.
Which is specifically what I would like, because there are a couple of buildings. So there's seasons, right? And you go through the first couple months in summer, and then it becomes prepare for winter time, and then you have your winter where you do other actions. And there were a couple buildings that gave you resources during that prep time,
right?
And those were really good, and I would like to see more of those in the game.
Yeah. So. I mean, as far as farming games go, this meets that Uwe farming game thing that I really love. It just provides more of it, and in a slightly different fashion.
Yeah, and the other thing about it is there are many, many, many roads you can travel to victory,
That's true.
or to defeat in many cases. But there's like a lot of different strategies you can choose. You can do something different. There's a lot of replayability there.
Yeah, and it's got seasonal actions, so it's got like winter and summer, and for the most part you have to stick to your season, but once per season you can jump over. And that kind of adds a little more variability in terms of like how you play the game.
Yep, absolutely.
So, and then but what happens is you give up the first player token if it's coming to you that turn.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So that is Fields of Arle.
All right.
Really loved it.
So our last game is another Uwe game, and this game, I really, really enjoyed this game, and I have to admit it's partially for theme, and that's Atiwa. Atiwa is a game based in Ghana. It's about living in Ghana, and you are producing resources and collecting animals, so you're kind of farming, but you're also trying to live in sort of peace with the fruit bats.
Yes.
In the local population, and that is the key to the story, and trying to control your pollution, and it's really interesting.
It is really interesting. I agree. I love the theme on this. That goes a long way for me, always theme, but it's really solid mechanically too. And I think I heard somebody say they love the theme, but they didn't like the gameplay, but I love the gameplay. One of the interesting things about this game as an Uwe game is you are collecting these cards, which sort of are tiles that like create your play area. And so there's some standard ones like a village or a settlement or a city. It's not called that, but trading, whatever. But then there's also like more agricultural ones, and so you're drafting those. You have to pay for them, but you're collecting those, and that's where you can put your resources and build out what you're doing during your game. And that's really interesting and very different from anything that I can think of that we've played with Uwe.
The other thing here is it's like in most Uwe games, your animals can breed and your families. And how that works is different than how it works in other Uwe games. For other Uwe games, it's like you have 2 cows, then you get a new cow.
If you have 4 cows, you still get 1 new cow.
That's a new way breeding, but this is different. Each round has a different breeding requirement for how many of a different animal or family, human family, that you need to breed an additional one. So when you do it with... so you're strategizing, and one of your strategies is trying to make sure you can breed every round, because that gets you more stuff.
Right.
And so like maybe you got to feed your families. So at the end of rounds, you get to this point where you're like, oh no, I got to feed my family, and I've got to spend a goat to feed my family because they provide the most food. But I'm going to reproduce a goat, so it's not too bad, you know?
Right. Or I can't feed my family the goat because then I won't have enough to reproduce, and you don't want to do that.
So here's 3 fruit.
Yeah, exactly. So, or I'm going to eat a bat, or whatever it is. You know, you kind of have to figure out how you're going to do it.
Yeah, and you can eat the bats in this game, but only if your families are not trained in the ecological benefits of the bats.
Yes. And not everything reproduces every round too. So some rounds, you know, goats are going to reproduce, some rounds they're not. So again, it just adds to that sort of strategic thinking about what you're going to do.
But like Fields of Arle, there's a lot of action spaces on this board, and you have a lot of choices with how you go about your gameplay and implement your strategy. So it's not like it's not at all linear. In the sense that you have a lot of choices.
Yeah, you could try really hard to avoid pollution. You could just say, I'm going to take pollution. I'm not worried about it. You know, you could really, there's a lot of different ways to go about it.
And the pollution itself, what it does is it goes onto your cards and takes up spaces. So it really, so you have a resource management thing, but you have a resource management thing over space.
Yes.
That's really interesting.
That is very interesting.
It's a very tense dynamic.
It is, you're right. I hadn't even thought about that. So yeah, so we are, as Jane said, we're in the middle of Uwe Palooza, so we're playing through all of our Uwe games. So exciting.
Very fun.
Yeah, we're going to talk about them in our Shelf of Shameful Opportunity games, and then at the end, we'll do a ranking video. So rather than waiting to talk about them till the end, we'll throw them in our
Yeah, I don't.
videos.
Did we count how many ues we have? It's got to be at least 15, right?
At least, yeah.
So we have several new ones to us. Obviously, Fields of Arle and Atiwa were new to us, but we also have At the Gates of Liang. We've never played. We've never played Le Havre.
Yep, I can't see. They're right behind.
I know that we have a TV in the way. We've never played Feast for Odin with the expansion, the Norwegians expansion. So I'm very excited for that.
We own Applejack, but we've never played the physical copy. We've only played online, so that's going to be fun.
Which I've never read the rules, so that'll be fun to actually learn them properly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
It is. We're excited.
Yep.
All right.
All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let us know what you think if you've played these games or are interested in these games in the comments below. We'll chat about it. And I don't know. Remember,
every day that you game
is a holiday. Bye, everyone.